Hello everybody, welcome to ixamBee. Today we have Umang with us and he has recently cleared SEBI Grade A Legal exam. Congratulations Umang from the entire ixamBee team. You have achieved a milestone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so Umang, for our viewers over here, for all the aspirants, can you tell a brief about your profile?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Umang Arya, and my journey, which brought me here today, it started from the time in class 11th or 12th when I used to watch TV serials in the depiction of courtroom and the police activities in daily life. So at that time, I started fascinating towards law and how law can be interpreted to protect citizens and to protect ourselves. So that was the beginnings. Then after 12th, but my parents wanted me to be an engineer, so I wrote JEE mains and cleared that and got into NIT Kurukshetra. But 6 months down the line, I just again wanted to be a lawyer and to be into law. So I wrote CLAT at that time and got into National Law School, Bangalore. And that time, then I felt like, yeah, now I'm at the place where I wanted to be. So at that time, I completed the graduation, and post that I joined a law firm in Bombay only, and that was a turning point in my life because at that law firm, my interest towards corporate law and securities market really started really started to be at the very great stage. And so at that time only I got introduced to SEBI and the SEBI exam. And so it was around November, December when I got introduced, and I then also saw that in January 2022 SEBI notification came, and so I decided to write that SEBI exam at that time. So after that, I wrote the phase one. I got cleared, and phase two also I got cleared. I sat for the interview, but unfortunately could not get through. But that was just a basically a pause, we can say, in my success story. And then I decided to quit my job. I was working at the law firm at that time, and decided to prepare full time. At that time, I went to my hometown, and then but due to some financial constraints, and I could not actually completely study from my home. So I then started to rewrite my journey, and then I applied again to a bank, a private sector bank, as a legal officer. So I came back to Bombay at and then again SEBI 2023 notification came, and then again my interest towards SEBI rejuvenated, and I applied for it. I again got through phase one and phase two. At that time, at present also I'm working at the bank. So yeah, and then I sat for the interview and got it cleared. So yeah, that's my entire journey.
So that's a
Sorry if
tremendous
it exceeded
journey.
the time and it was long if it was.
Yeah, so that was a tremendous journey. So you even
Thank you.
elaborated on the decisions that you took, then the work that you took, and the fact that you reached in 2022 till the interview stage, and then you applied again. So
Yeah.
that's really motivation because out of three students, one is selected in the interview. So the other two are equally good, but then they get disheartened right now.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
So
are many obstacles and there are many points wherein a person can get out of the race, because it's not just the interview, even the phase two marks, that is the major chunk. And wherein I felt that phase two in the 2022, when I analyzed my marks and the interview marks, I understood that the reason why I could not get selected was not the interview, was basically phase two marks, and that too the legal paper.
okay. Okay, so Umang, now how long have you been working in the law firm and now in the bank?
So I was working in the law firm around 1 year, and in the bank around 6 months now.
Okay, so you were not able to take the benefit of the experience.
I'm sorry, which experience?
The benefit of experience, if you had 2 years experience, then you could get extra
Correct,
1.5
correct.
marks.
Yeah, that I could not, because I was also not registered as an advocate. So that I had already disclosed. So yeah, I could not get the benefit of that 1.5 marks. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. So because a lot of students are worried if we don't have that experience, can we get selected or not? So
That's true.
here
Even
you are.
yeah, even I was worried when the notification came. Firstly, the syllabus was different for phase two. There were a lot of
Yes.
SEBI regulations, and secondly, this 1.5 marks, the weightage in interview. But I wanted to write it again, and I had a craze for SEBI. So yeah,
So
that's why I think it's not very necessary that this 1.5 will be a big obstacle for success, because if you get good enough marks in phase two, then everything will be better. Yeah.
so that's great. So Umang, let's get deeper into your preparation. So
Yes.
there was phase one, there were two papers, paper one and paper two, then phase two, then interview. So let's move subject by subject or phases by phase, and let's also understand how did you prepare for these exams? What all sources you used, what all strategies you opted for, because phase one was only qualifying, and in paper one also there was no sectional cutoff. So, can you elaborate on that? That what all sources did you use for your preparation of phase one, paper two, and then we'll move to phase two.
Okay. So for phase one, as we know, it's like completely MCQ based. It's a multiple choice paper. So what I understand is that it's a multiple choice paper. So the most important method of practice of clearing this exam should be practicing a lot, like a lot of MCQs. So my personal strategy was that I started. So since I have done already 5 years law graduation, so I know that my basics are clear of law. So what actually needs to be done for me was just to practice. So I started from the practicing of MCQs of various subjects which were involved. So for I'm talking about paper two here, legal. So उसमें I just started practicing all the subjects wise MCQs like constitution and other subject contract. So उसके basis पे I just started from the MCQs. So that was one. For paper one, I focused on the topics which I could do. For example, I knew that general awareness will be a big area which I could not cover. So I just completely, and I know that there's only a small number of marks which I require to clear it. It's not like I have to get into merit of it. So I just chose two areas: quantitative aptitude, reasoning, and I knew that English was my good point, so I was not worried about that. So two areas I had to work upon, and English was already okay for me. So that's how I sailed through phase one, paper one. For phase one, paper two, I specifically tried a lot of MCQs as much as I could do, and that was the way I could clear phase one.
Okay, so from where did you practice these MCQs or you prepared the quant and
Yeah,
reasoning?
so this is a very important thing. So as we know, there are lot of MCQs for especially the corporate law, right? In the we can see in the YouTube or other areas, there are a lot of MCQs for criminal laws. There are a lot of MCQs for constitution law. So for these, so now it's a good thing that various online institutions have opened up, especially iXamB also. And so I took help of that. I enrolled into iXamB. I have enrolled since 2022. So it helped me a lot. So I enrolled into the test series in 2022, and that was very beneficial because so what I used to do was uh, I'm taking a test at an example, for example, and I'm doing the test. And when I am not able to get an answer to it, at that time I'm reading the relevant provision of the Bear Act, and that's how my understanding was getting better. Because firstly, the answers, the questions with जिनका आंसर मुझे आता है, that तो I'm just getting it passed, and that's just a revision. But for which I do not get the answer, I'm reading the Bear Act, and then I'm like basically revising and also correcting my knowledge. So that was a very good step. And also, what I used to do was, uh, what I used to do was do all these tests, and also the questions which were wrong, I used to highlight or take a snapshot of it, and then I used to revise it whenever I it took time. So yeah, the sources then it will be basically online institutions like iExam.
Okay, and how many mock tests did you give for phase one?
I don't recall exactly the number, but as much as I could. I really don't recall the number. But I
Okay.
think mock tests are important. I
Okay.
think my major source was this mock test only.
Okay, and let's now move to phase two. So there was a lot of shocking changes,
Yeah, correct,
unexpected
correct.
changes in the SEBI phase two this time. First of all, the syllabus was differentiated for phase one and phase two. So entirely different things have to be studied. SEBI
Yeah,
regulations were introduced, descriptive part was introduced. So how did
yeah.
you prepare for that and what all
Uh,
sources did you use?
so to be honest, I have been preparing for like 2 years. So I took my chance and I did not prepare for descriptive part. And yeah, that's true. I did not prepare. When I say I did not prepare for descriptive part, I'm saying I did not read books, or I was not actually. I practiced a lot. I practiced descriptive questions and answers, but not reading per se, because I had already completed my graduation in law, so I was pretty aware that yeah, my basics are clear. So again, what I focused was bare acts. That's all. So all the bare acts which were involved, the SEBI regulations, I used to read. So herein I tweaked my strategy a little bit, because SEBI regulations I did not read them at my law school, right? Those are not taught at that time. So herein what did was I read all the SEBI regulations once from start to end, and that helped me because some questions I remember at exam were basically like this is covered in which schedule. Some question was there. I think it was, I don't recall the regulation, but this type of
It
question
was there.
also came. Yeah. So I read the regulations from starting to end for all the SEBI regulations. But after then, again, my strategy came back to that thing only, doing many mock tests as much as possible. And one thing again I would like to highlight here. So iXample provided PDFs of various regulations, and those were very helpful because again I did what I read the Bare Act once. I read the regulations, sorry, and then I tried to attempt the questions. And again, if the question I could not do the question, I went back to the regulation. I read the relevant provision, and then I attempted the question back, and I highlighted. I took printout of these PDFs which you provided, and so those helped me a lot in completing the regulations. Also, reading the regulations this way, like along with the PDFs, helped me in answering the descriptive part also, because I remember one question, if I'm not wrong, was related to insider trading. So that also helped me like that.
Okay.
So
So,
descriptive may
hmm,
one more thing,
yes,
just
yes, please.
you also provided the descriptive mock test, if you remember. So I practiced that also with the keyboard and all. So that also helped me a lot.
Okay. So here you are mentioning about the notes, the PDF notes of schedules of regulations, SEBI regulations.
Yeah,
So let's,
just to add, just to
yeah.
correct, not PDF notes, the test series, the questions, PDF questions you provided.
Okay, the
Yeah,
MCQ
those.
booklets.
Yes, MCQ booklets, correct. Yeah,
Yes.
MCQ
Okay.
booklets. Yeah,
So you took their printout.
yeah, MCQ
Okay.
booklets were super helpful.
Okay, that's great. And also, there were summary sheets. Were you able to use them at any point of time for various laws?
Summary sheet I personally did not use. So my go-to revision were the questions which I had highlighted or took snapshots of. Because firstly, what it helps is because those questions which I have highlighted, I know that those were my weak points. And secondly, questions are a very good source of knowing what is important actually in the entire regulations, because the teachers who have prepared it obviously would have studied a lot of things and then prepared the questions. So I know that these questions are important. So that was my go-to revision source for phase one, phase two, in either case. Yeah.
Okay. And when you were attempting these descriptive mock tests, so
Yeah.
what was your average score over there? So was there an improvement over a period of time?
I do not recall this. So here I'll say that I tried to attempt. So as I say, I was working at the same time, so I did not get much time. So for example, if I completed my like the entire work day, then I got some time. So I tried to attempt it on my laptop. I don't recall exactly, but I think it was all. No, I can't say, I can't comment because I really don't recall it.
That's not a problem.
But
So,
one more, the most important thing was that I was practicing. That I wanted, because I knew that uh, having a knowledge of one thing and actually putting it onto the paper is a different thing. you need to practice it. It doesn't come automatically even if you know the things. So that's why I try to practice descriptive question.
Okay. And Umang, then how was your mock interview and your actual interview?
Yeah, so I took the mock interview also, and so mock interview went well. I remember that, and at the actual interview was slightly, however, different. So at that my interview at the real interview, it happened in the I was second last, so it was in the late evening. So I think the panelists were also slightly exhausted and all. So the interview was very crisp, and so there were no HR questions. They directly jumped to the my knowledge
Profile.
aspect profile, yeah, and like what I was working at bank and prior to that, and they directly started asking me questions. So since I was working at banks, they started asking me questions like, uh, what is the relevance of the DPDP Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, with respect to banks' data, how the bank will be uh, uh, affected since it processes a lot of customers' data. So specific questions with respect to my profiles were asked. However, apart from that, some general questions, also theoretical questions. For example, one of the panelists asked me about the one second corporate whale theory. So that's a basic corporate law question. So that was asked, and yeah, so interview went well, and the panelists were very cordial, and they were very patient when I was talking. So that was nice. However, it was very crisp. It was not very long. So yeah.
Okay. So that was your entire preparation journey and your experience. Uh,
Yes.
any takeaways, any things that you learned during your 2 years of preparation, which should be focused upon more, and anything which can be avoided by the other aspirants?
Can you please reiterate
Okay.
the question?
So
Sorry.
my question is, so you have had 1.5, 2 years of preparation journey. You might have
Right.
certain takeaways that these are the things that should be stressed upon, should be focused more upon in the preparation of SEBI Legal.
Okay.
Second
Yeah.
thing, this thing can be avoided. So
Okay.
anything that you felt should be done and should not be.
Okay. My takeaway here will be that focus a lot on practicing. Since you are already a law graduate, you must have studied the basics of law, and then if not, then try to cover the basics as soon as possible, even before the notification comes. If you have decided to prepare, try to cover the basics, and then jump onto the practicing aspect of the uh, of the of the paper, because finally what will matter is your attempting the questions in the phase one. Even if you have read hundreds of books, those won't matter finally when you attempt the questions. Therein, what will matter is you attempting the question correctly. And because if you have read a lot of books, read a lot of notes, whatever you have read, finally you attempting the right question at that in that environment, that will matter. If that gets wrong, you reading the books will not co- will not convince the panel or the board to select you, correct? So attempt a lot of questions, attempt descriptive papers, give mock interviews. So that was my takeaway. And uh, from my past failure, I had one takeaway, that improve your legal aspect, because my phase two got botched up because of that. So in this phase two, and phase two is the most crucial part, and that will play the most crucial part in your selection. And and I also saw that English, descriptive English, in phase two, the marks, they are pretty average. The they are always in a similar range. There is not much difference. However, the difference which comes is in the legal paper of phase 2. And therein, for example, I noted my marks. So in 2022, my marks in legal was 68, right, out of 100, and toppers marks was 80.5. So there's a around 12 marks difference, correct? And in English, my marks was similar to the topper, 56 out of 100. And uh, so that's the difference. So the most difference comes from the legal paper of phase 2, and that's around, even it can be 12 20 marks difference. So you can also see how much higher the marks can go in legal phase 2. It can be around 80.5 also, and lower there is no limit, right? So that's how I think the phase 2 legal is the most important aspect if you want to clear the exam.
Okay. Umang, one more question, one small question.
For sure.
Since you have shared two journeys with us, 2022 preparation and also 2023. So you were there with iXambi during these two preparation journeys. So what difference did you find in the content, and how iXambi was able to help you in the two journeys?
Okay. So one commonality, which, so it would be more like what I used iXambi for. Like iXambi provided a host of content, correct? And so so in both my attempts, I was already working, so I had to choose what I could consume and what I, because I have a constraint of time, I
Yes.
cannot consume everything. So that's why I chose all the test series which iXambi provided, and those were very helpful. I reiterate that because I remember in phase one of SEBI phase 2022, some of the questions even were similar. So that was something very surprising for me. For phase one, I'm saying legal. So test series really helps, and this can happen sometimes. Questions can even be similar to the real exam. So that's what I want to emphasize on. Another thing which was different, which were different in 2023, was that in my brief period when I was in hometown, I started consuming the lectures, the live lectures which iXambi provided. So those were also very helpful. And I would here like to emphasize that sometimes what happens is aspirants, the the morale gets low sometimes. It's difficult to study all the times, and when uh, there is no chance of notification coming in, because we all know that after 2022 there was complete lull. Nothing was, no news was also coming of notification. So sometimes the morale gets down. So at that time, these live lectures come to rescue, and I'll let you know how. Because so if you try to participate in those lectures, the interest boosts up a lot. So uh, I had a very brief amount of time when I was in hometown, but at that time, to boost my morale and to increase my interest in studies, I used to participate in every lecture, whether am I wrong or right, and I used to also ask questions a lot to the teachers. So one thing it helps is boost your morale. Secondly, you are interacting with teacher directly. So firstly, teacher also recognizes you, and then they also ask you questions. So it will never happen then that your interest will go down in the studies. And then because you know that now teacher also knows you, so she will ask questions on from you next day. She can ask questions like, yeah, Umang, please tell, so in this way your interest gets at a high level in the studies, and that also helps. So this also students, fellow aspirants can use.
Okay, that's great. So, Umang, during your brief journey, you refer to the detailed version, and during a brief period at home, you refer to the
Yeah,
detailed version. And while
yeah,
you were working, you refer to the short and crisp version of iExam.
correct. Yeah, test
So
series.
that's great, Umang. That's very insightful. Your entire journey, I hope, is an inspiration for all other aspirants, working or non-working. They can take cues and prepare for SEBI legal exam. Thank you so much, Umang. Wish you all the
Thank you.
best for your journey ahead.
Thank you,
Congratulations once.
iXambi. Thank you, entire team of iXambi. It helped a lot, especially in phase in both the journeys. But 2023, since I'm selected, so
Yes.
team iXambi helped a lot, and those PDFs of the
MCQ
question papers,
booklets.
those help. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.